What's up, folks? It's Combine Week, so we've got to do a rookie preview, and of course, remind you, keep your wife away from Steve Smith. Yikes! Oh, what's happening, folks? Here we go again. Too much fantasy football. It's Combine Week here. It's too much Brian, of course, and by my side, as always, it's Brennan. How we doing today, man?
I'm sorry. That's all I got for you.
Dude, if there's not news that's happening right now in the NFL, none more fun than the texts that were leaked from Steve Smith's new girlfriend who
That was
married.
rough.
If you
That
didn't
was
see
real
that,
rough.
folks, just search his name. You'll find it real quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But the two of us, we are off. As soon as we hit this end record button, we are hopping on the plane, heading to Indy, getting ready for that up close and personal information from the Combine for you. But before we do that, we have to introduce you to these players, at least the top players that should be pretty fantasy relevant. Before we do that, let's touch on some news here. And we all love money. We all love it when we get paid, of course. We love it when these players get paid. Khalil Shakir, wide receiver for the Bills. 4 years, $60 million. What does that tell you they're going to do in free agency?
I don't know because the cap went up quite significantly, and now he's kind of paid as like this is what I expect wide receiver 2 money to be, like about $15 million a year, which is crazy to think about. But I mean, he's perfect for what he is. I don't think this moves the needle for me in redraft. I think Josh Allen's very good at spreading the ball around, but I think he's very much solidified himself as that slot guy for them for at least the next 2 years for what this contract is. So,
yeah, despite them bringing in a really big name somehow, I think this just kind of leaves him where he is. He is a consistent, steady Eddie. He's a PPR machine. He's going to be great for that format, but he's not winning you the week, that's for sure.
no.
You know who did win us some weeks back in the day? Mr. Gronkowski. And how is he back in the news? Is he really considering coming out of retirement?
I mean, the news broke. I saw Gronk is considering coming out of retirement. I think it also said on the bottom that he's fascinated with Sean Payton and Bo Nick. So it really just sounds like if he comes out, it's to Denver. So, I mean, I went on all my dynasty leagues and I just added him just because it's a free ad. And if he does come back, like really, like honestly, rank Gronkowski right now to all these tight ends. Is he tight end 1 to you? Because like I probably have to put him at like right there, right on the edge of it.
I mean, just for the touchdown upside, if he gets 6 touchdowns just in goal line packages, he could be a top 12 tight end. Do the Buccaneers still hold his rights? I don't remember. I can't wait.
No, I think he's a free agent. I think he can kind of just like walk away. So I don't think Tampa. I mean, technically, can they franchise tag him? I don't know how that works with guys retiring. So like, they might have to work out a deal where they basically just send like a 6th-round pick, like what Tampa did to get from Gronk, like something like that, I guess. But I don't know. I bet it'd be very, very cheap.
Wild stuff. I guess he's coming out here just to maybe overshadow. Travis Kelce announces this will be the final ride for him. He's coming back. He's excited. Are we as fantasy players, though?
I mean, it's kind of hard to pat. So I did a best ball last night, and I like was like 10th round pick Travis Kelce. Like, all right, I'll take a chance on him. I don't know, for redraft purposes, I'm excited about it. Like, I just think he's going to be used in packages. I genuinely think they're going to save him for the playoffs. I think this is where we you let the guys in your league who see the name Kelce draft him. I don't think I want to touch him.
I'd agree with that. With a year 2 worthy, a healthy Rice out there, Kelce doesn't need to do much. You know, he needs to go out there and be Old Faithful on 3rd downs and, you know, get that 3rd and 8th conversion, maybe the touchdown on the goal line. But no, I think this offense is going to continue to evolve around him without him, and this will be a swan song, that's for sure. We have finally, team is calling for the end of the Tush push. It looks like we've got some teams discussing it. It will be discussed at the owners meeting this year. What does that mean for Jalen Hurts? Let's say for some reason it does get taken away. I think it was something like 12 of his 16 touchdowns were like Tush push touchdowns. So like that's a huge hit to him, but a huge boost, I think, to the wide receivers in Barkley.
Oh, I think it's a boost it's boost more from Barkley than it is the wide receivers. But I'm going to preface this, right? Jalen Hurts squats 600 pounds. The dude is massive. it's not like most of the times when I see him do this, he's already kind of like already across the goal line to where he's already there. So I don't know if this really affects it. The push is just coming from Goddard to make sure he just gets over it and it's like a safety net. So I'm not necessarily sure. Honestly, like I know the Packers were the ones that submitted this, but like deep down inside, I think like it was Bills fans just to make sure Sean McDermott couldn't call it 8 times and be unsuccessful.
No kidding.
But no, I think like for fantasy purposes, it's like Hurts is still going top four. Like it's even if you take that away, he's still going to be a top four. I don't. It's not going to make me move him down a little bit. Maybe Jaden goes up one ahead of him, but really he's still the rushing upside's there. He has all the weapons there, and maybe takes away a little bit of the touchdowns, but he's still a threat.
Yeah, I think his ability to score passing touchdowns definitely goes up at that point. Just from there, I still think he'll score on the ground. Maybe he drops a tier for me, but it just takes him from the super elite tier to just the elite tier. You know, I still think he's going to be a top end fantasy quarterback for us.
What a bummer going from super elite to elite. Gosh.
I know, just can't put him up there in the supers anymore. Let's talk about some old quarterbacks because I'm calling for the Kirk Cousins there for them to cut him, to trade him, something like that. But they've come out and said they're okay with him riding the bench. That's what I would say too if I was trying to move a guy. Make sure it sounds like you actually give a damn. I don't think they do.
Yeah, I definitely could see some teams valuing like a Kirk Cousins over a Shadur Sanders, a Cam Ward, a Jackson Dart, just to see if like they can bridge it. I mean, the only problem is that contract is massive, and I just don't. There's so much like uncertainty with the money aspect of it. 'Cause I think it's a dead cap of like what 30+ million, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big. It was just the first 2 years that were the really big ones, but yeah, it's a big one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I still think a team like let's say like the Rams do trade Stafford. Let's say like they're and like let's just say the Titans do take Abdul Carter. I mean, they need a quarterback. Will Levis isn't the answer, so I think he is going to find another home somewhere. I have a hard feeling him being the competitor, being a backup.
I think so too. Yeah, just like Trey Lance, he wants to go out there and compete for a starting job. Yeah, I think the last of the big news there, it's definitely the Stafford. Rams have told him that he could go out there and seek a trade. Look, you tie between that and them getting rid of Cooper Kupp, his best buddy, I think you can say that Stafford's gone. They must be planning on bringing in either a rookie or Sam Darnold because they seem pretty confident in themselves to just let Stafford go away.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like they're asking for a first round pick, and I'm like, it's kind of reasonable. Like the dude's still playing at an elite level. I mean, how many other quarterbacks would you really want besides Stafford? He took the Eagles down to the wire. So,
especially if it's like the Steelers trading for him, because I think they're picking around 20, 21, something like that. So like that first is a little bit more. I mean, they spent a 15th on Kenny Pickett. If you're willing to burn that, why wouldn't you burn a 20th overall pick?
Yeah, Stafford to the Steelers actually makes them really enticing. Like I think that's a scary team.
Picks. They'd get 2 comp picks for the other quarterbacks walking away. So like 2/3 in it's not a terrible situation there.
Yeah. I didn't even think about the Steelers. That's kind of scary because everyone's kind of linking him towards the Giants right now. And I don't see the Giants giving up their 3rd overall pick for Stafford. There's just no way. There's so many more valuable players there. But Steelers make a lot of sense. I could definitely see them saying, bye to Russell, moving over to Stafford. Stafford's still playing at an elite level. It boosts up Pickens, making some top 5. Yes.
Oh, God. Oh,
no, in all honesty, though, like, I do think it sounds like Stafford is going to move, and I think Sam Darnold is the replacement. I think Sam Darnold will fill in just fine. Kevin O'Connell comes from Sean McVay. Sean McVay's offense, it's not like he's going to have to learn a whole new system. So,
yeah, it's really just a plug and play for him. I think it'd be a good situation for him. Do they win a Super Bowl? Probably not. I feel like he's just about like Jared Goff level on that team. They could probably get him to a Super Bowl. I don't know if he'd win it, but they'll be competitive and they'll stay in the playoff race.
Does Puka move down for you if Stafford leaves? And let's just say Sam Darnold, because I think we were both in the assumption that Sam Darnold is going to come to town because he's from LA or from Southern California. Sorry. I mean, you'll come back home, play at your home area.
I don't think Puka does because Cooper Kupp's gone. So like if anything that was kind of hurting him, target share. So as long as Puka gets a 30% target share, he'll be just fine.
Okay.
All right, you ready to get into these rookies?
Let's do it.
All right, folks. This is the time. Well, easy. Let's pump the brakes a little bit because we're going to talk about the top 3, 5 quarterbacks here. We're going to get really excited about these, but these aren't quite the quarterbacks we saw last year or previous years. You kind of have to take it in totality of where this is. It may be the number 1 quarterback in this class, but where would he fall in multiple other classes? So let's talk about Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, 22 years old, 6'2", 223. Dude's got a rocket. Absolutely rocket. Loves to look deep down the field to throw it. What are your initial thoughts with this guy?
I mean, if you haven't had a chance, go back and just watch some tape from either Washington State or Miami. His pocket presence is absolutely crazy. It's just he knows how to avoid the pressure, the sacks. He's not a scrambler though. I was kind of surprised when I looked at his numbers. He only rushed for 200 yards, so he very much is throw first, runs as like a very, very much like last option resort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this guy, he doesn't look to check it down, and like you said, he doesn't look like to throw. So I don't want to tag him to Anthony Richardson, but it's a lot of looking for that deep pass. He has the ability and the talent to throw him deep like that. So more than likely, first guy off the board is where this is going. I've seen talks of maybe the Jets want to trade up to go grab him early. Does it actually happen? I don't know, but I am leaning towards this. Looks like our best option as far as a successful quarterback in this class.
Yeah, my comps to him were Tony Romo and Sam Darnold.
There we go. Sam Darnold Jets or Sam Darnold out of the Jets?
Out of the Jets.
Okay, cool. Big difference
That's
there,
mean.
folks.
That's mean.
Alrighty. Next quarterback, I think you've heard of him before. He's got a dad that's pretty famous, but Shakir Sanders, coming from Colorado, 23 years old, 6'2", 215. I love that the top 3 quarterbacks are all very polarizing different. Like, this guy is one of the most accurate quarterbacks there is. He does move. He has mobility. He can move around the pocket, but it's so he can buy time so he can dump it off. He's all about timing. He's not a big arm guy. He's not going to wow you there. So I've heard a lot of second round grades on him. So I think that's going to be the interesting part is, does he get that first round draft capital?
I think there will be. I think he goes in the first round. When you watch him play, he's very good when he's given time to go through his reads. Like he's just very smooth in the pocket. The problem was, though, at Colorado, he was sacked 42 times in 13 games. Again, he's a pure pocket passer QB, but he can be mobile when needed. I've seen it. My NFL comp, I know it sounds like mean, but like you got to remember, like Andy Dalton was very, very good for the stretch in Cincinnati. And I think if he is Andy Dalton for when he was a prime, I think it's great. I mean, you can win. Andy Dalton could have won a Super Bowl if he was given talent around him besides AJ Green.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a lot better. I almost wanted to say like Drew Brees just because of the stylization of play. I don't want to say the talent is there of Brees, but it's more that style. Like, Brees' completion percentage on the career is just one of the highest of all time, as if it's not the highest for the amount of throws he had. So very much a very similar style. If you get him in a good system where he just, like you said, has to make those reads, I think he can be really successful.
Yeah, I agree.
Next guy, this is where the excitement starts in the draft, folks, because the first 2 we've talked about quite a bit. Jackson Dart, though, number 3, coming from Ole Miss, 21 years old, 6'2", 225. They're all built the same. All 5 of these guys we're going to talk about today are 6'2", which is kind of funny. I mean, we'll find out at the combine if they are all truly that height, but this one is the most mobile of the 3. So we've got the big arm in Ward, we've got the accuracy in Sanders, and then you've got the mobility in Dart. So Dart is a quarterback that I was kind of worried when it comes to his second reads. He was great in the system that he has with Lane Kiffin down there and absolutely crushing it with that. But it seemed like when that first read wasn't open, bam, he was running, which is great. It's absolutely great for fantasy. But how well does that translate in the NFL in the system that he ends up going to?
Yeah, Jackson Dart's the more enticing for fantasy purposes just because of his legs, right? He's definitely not afraid to scramble. He had insane rushing yards. His first like short and intermediate throws are great. It's the deep ball that's scary. He's inaccurate when he throws it 25 yards plus down the field. And that's where I think I'm going to be very curious to see where he lands in this draft. Like My comp for him was Baker Mayfield all the way to Zach Wilson. Like, that's where he kind of aligns. Like, his best, if he's at his best, it's Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield obviously is playing at a great high level right now. But obviously, when Zach Wilson was playing with the Jets, it was terrible. You know, he scrambled a little bit, had some moments of flashes, but other than that, it was just crap. So that's what you're getting out of this.
Yeah, like I said, I think this is the third. If there's going to be 3 quarterbacks going in the first round, I think this is going to be the guy that gets the third name called. Last 2 guys here: Jalen Milroe from Alabama, 22 years old, 6'2", 225. Think Michael Vick. This dude is insanely he's built well. Like, he's not going to break like the Warriors with Jaden Daniels, but he just runs. Extreme athleticism. This is a guy that I think that if he gets a second round draft capital on him, I still think there's going to be fantasy relevant days for him just because of his legs. The other guy we're about to talk about, I don't think so.
Yeah, so it's so hard when I watch him play. I'm like, man, you know, elite athlete, dual threat, crazy arm strength. The short and intermediate throws are just awful. Ball security is a little iffy. It's Anthony Richardson, man. It's literally, I mean, he needs to sit. He needs to go somewhere and sit and learn how to play the game. I think it's crazy, but like, my comps for Anthony Richardson, obviously, but like, again, could be Jalen Hurts or it could be Jameis Winston. I mean, that's really all about what you get out of it. So,
last quarterback we're going to talk about is going to be Quinn Ewers from Texas. 22, 6'2", 210. The guy who somehow kept Manning from being out there on the field constantly.
Crazy.
If he doesn't get first round draft capital, I really don't care too much about him in football or in fantasy football, redraft especially. Dynasty, sure, you may grab him in super flex, but this dude's all over the place.
Yeah, I expect him to be a very good backup quarterback for his entire career. I don't know. I can't see him starting. He's a definition of a bipolar quarterback, man, because like, I think Texas fans can agree, when he's on, he's unstoppable. But if he's off, it's not a good sight. And you saw it in the playoffs. The arm talent's there. He doesn't have that killer instinct. My comps for him were Case Keenum and Chase Daniel. Like, that's about the high end of it. So, and Case Keenum had a good career.
Yeah, he's not too bad. Not too bad. Let's go to running backs. This is going to be the most exciting part of the draft this year.
Stacked.
Absolutely stacked. We've got 10 guys on the list. We're not even going to get through all of them. My list is about 17, 18 deep that I'm really confident in giving us something in fantasy football. So Ashton Genty's the name that everybody knows. Thing I want to point out, he's 5'9", 215. He's a little fella, but go ahead, spill a little for him.
I mean, like, if you're going to, it's hard to nitpick with him, man. Like, when you watch him, he's basically a complete back. Very little weakness. The only concern is maybe pass protection, but that's just more so to improve. It's not really a true weakness. I mean, he's always falling forward. The NFL comp I have is LaDainian Tomlinson, Saquon, and then at worst a Zeke. But again, Zeke in his prime was elite for a couple stretch of years. So like, if he's Zeke, you're still very happy for wherever he goes.
Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, 22, 6 foot, 220, big guy, a bruiser. I think that this is one of the 3 candidates that we'll have for a first round pick if we get multiple outside of Genty. This guy, he could take the spot over Genty just because he is a bigger back. He is more complete just in that aspect of, he has receiving skills. He's a big bruiser and the pass protection there. So thoughts on him?
Yeah, power runner is the definition of him. Super patient in his runs. He's got, you'd be surprised, he's got good hands. Like, I didn't think when I went back and watched the tape, I was like, again, little weaknesses. Again, if Genty wasn't here, this guy would be the talk of the town. But again, Genty just obviously rushed for 1,000,000 yards and some. It's kind of hard to not be the talk of the town there. So he should be, I think he'll be a first round, if not a very, very high second round pick. So he'll be very enticing to where he goes. Again, my comp for him is Le'Veon Bell to David Montgomery at worst. And that's, again, a great career.
Yeah, a couple of great careers, absolutely. Yeah. Next up, we got a couple guys from Ohio State, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. Think rhythm and blues. I think the Lions. You got the quick, speedy guy. You got the big bruiser. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's all about landing spot with these guys. Each one of them's better at other things. So it's where do they fall, what their fit is.
Yeah, so for me, for Travion Henderson, like, he is super talented, crazy speed, can burst into the second level, super great in the receiving game, but man, the durability is a concern. He's missed some time at Ohio State. I don't believe in the word injury prone, but obviously it's going to linger for other people in the NFL. Obviously, these guys are, investing quite a bit into him. The thing with him, though, is that the short yardage rushing is a concern. Like whenever it came down to like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, he was not in there. It was the other guy. So my comp for him for Travion Henderson is David Montgomery as well, but also Chase Brown.
I'm pretty sure you called Christian Watson injury prone.
Yeah, it's hamstrings. Hamstrings are injury are re-injuring.
Look, he's
anything
out
when it comes to muscle tendons, it's injury.
2026, here we come. Christian Watson, wide receiver number 1. We're going to sit on that for a year, folks.
Yikes.
Caleb Johnson from Iowa. I'm thoroughly excited to see what he runs at the combine. I think his 40 is going to be a lot faster than most say. I think that this guy is an argument for the running back 2 in this class with 3 other guys. But
yeah, Caleb Johnson is. I'm sorry, you are mentioning Caleb Johnson, correct, at Iowa?
Yeah, well, I touched on a couple, him and Scatabo. Just kind of.
Yeah, Scatabo, I'm out. I'm just going to let y'all know I'm out. It was a wonderful story. I'm be very surprised where he lands in the draft. He is again, it's like we talked about for Travis Kelce. Let somebody else take him. I don't think he's going to translate well in the NFL.
And then 2 later guys that I'm really excited about to see what happens with them. Devin Neal from Kansas, 5'11", 215. And Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State, 6'2", 225. 2 years ago, Ollie Gordon was the talk of the town. This past year, the team changed up a little bit, not quite as much success. But I think in the right system, both of these guys can perform really well in the NFL.
His off-the-field issues are just such a concern, man. Missing a game because of chlamydia? Jeez.
Hey, you know what?
I still remember that. I'm sorry, folks. He did miss a game because he had chlamydia. I did so bad.
You clear that up,
it's
little
a couple
little rash,
meds,
couple of pills, you're good to go. Good to go.
Exactly.
Let's talk some wide receivers here. There's not a lot that really, I'm in love with here, but these top 4 definitely are. Travis Hunter, does he play wide receiver? Does he play cornerback? That's going to be the big conversation for him. Colorado Heisman winner, 6'1", 185 is what he's clocking in at.
Yeah, so today the Browns GM, which again they have a high pick, they said he'd be primarily a wide receiver if he was selected by them. They view him as a wide receiver. So we've seen all over the board, and I don't know how to really grade him for Dynasty. He's kind of a wild card because I haven't seen him be any higher than 10th overall in Dynasty, and it's are you willing to gamble on him? Because at that point, if you have the 112, it's kind of a gamble, kind of worth it. I feel like in single quarterback, I should say.
I don't think so. At that point, if I'm 112, I'd probably a competing team that give me a running back. Probably taking a lot safer piece. If you're not taking him in the top 4, top 5 because you're guaranteed he's gonna be a wide receiver, I don't want him to late second. Just with the question marks, yeah, like you said, give him somebody else. Teteroa McMillian, the big guy out of Arizona, 21 years old, 6'5", folks, 212. Big old, amazing highlight catches. So he should be the first wide receiver off the board if we don't count Travis Hunter. Thoughts on him?
Yeah. Be very curious to see what his 40 time is over the weekend. His separation is obviously the big question mark. Everyone's, obviously he can make these wow catches just because of his height. But obviously, when it comes to the NFL, some of these DBs are 6'1", 6'2", so it's they can play right next to you. Obviously, the talk of the town is, the Bucs replacing Mike Evans with this guy, and it's just that's everyone's fantasy dream, and he's obviously being compared to Mike Evans just because of the size. I think he'll be in the first round. I think he'll be a late first rounder. I think actually somebody else will be taking ahead of him, and not Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I could see that. Luther Burden might be one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. Coming out of Missouri, 21, 6'5", or 5'11", 205 is what he's clocking in at. Think Jamar Chase neighbors, maybe not quite that talented, but that stylization of wide receivers. So really excited to see what he clocks in on the combine.
He's a very much yak guy. He is, when he gets the ball in his hands, he's elite after the catch ability. I kind of compare him to Debo, which isn't a bad thing because Debo, again, when he gets the ball in his hands, it's kind of hard to bring him down. Kind of like Amon-Ra, really good route running. So I genuinely think that there's a chance that Luther Burden could be the first wide receiver off the board.
100% agree. We kind of saw it a few years ago when it came down to was it Zay Flowers and Jordan Addison and QJ. You know, there a lot of the talents, different skills, but you had QJ coming in at 6'5", and the little guys got drafted after him, and we saw what happened there.
Whoops.
Emeka Egbuka, coming out of Ohio State, 6'1", 205. Almost forgotten somehow, because when you have Chris Olave, when you have Marvin Harrison Jr., when you have Garrett Wilson, and when you have, who's the third?
Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin.
There was one more, folks. There were one more, folks.
Yeah,
Ohio
there's always
State
one
people
more.
are yelling in their
Yeah,
call
they're
right
just
now.
like, how could you forget?
But this guy was overshadowed by some of the greatest wide receivers that have been coming out of late. So he was the guy this past year. I think he could be a first-round wide receiver as well.
Yeah, he missed out on last year's draft just because obviously he would have been like the fifth wide receiver taken in a really stacked class, which isn't a bad thing. And he's probably going to be a first-round pick. This is a draft that's kind of, obviously it's running back heavy, it's D-line, DB heavy. Wide receivers is so, and quarterback's obviously the weakest link of it. So I think he's going to go to a team that's, needing that wide receiver too. And I think he fills it in quite nicely. I think he's kind of like that Jordan Addison type role.
Great compare. Yeah, absolutely. Like a very studly wide receiver too on any team.
Yeah.
Last two guys I want to bring up, Jalen Royals. I don't know, something about watching him play out there at Utah State, 6', 205. I've really liked his film over the last few weeks. And then Savion Williams, another 6'5" fella. I got to stand tall with my fellow 6'5" guys. So does he make an impression? Does he really break out? I don't know, but it's TCU, so probably not.
For me, my favorite one besides like the top two guys is Isaiah Bond from Texas. I think he'll be a day 2 pick, potentially day 1 pick. I like him a lot more than most scouts and probably most dynasty guys. So I think wherever he goes, depending on situation, I think it'll be a good fit for him.
Tight ends, folks. This one will be quick. There's not a whole lot to talk about after the top two. Tyler Warren from Penn State, 6'6", 261. This is the cream of the crop, the talk of the town. Should be a top 15 pick.
I mean, he's projected to go top 10 in most people's drafts right now. It's crazy.
Wild stuff. We got Loveland coming out of Michigan, 20 years old, 6'5", 245. Another multi-talented tight end that we have coming out here.
Yeah, so Warren is the wow factor of this. Like, think Brock Bowers, maybe a little light on that, and then he can play out of the backfield. Like he takes snaps from behind center. He's very versatile with the ball. It's crazy. Watching his tape is so much fun. He just gets open. Great route runner. He is like a very much complete tight end. Obviously, blocking isn't really his best attribute, but he's still good at it. I would say Loveland is the more complete of the two, but he's obviously not as versatile as Warren. So I think obviously Warren goes first. Loveland falls right behind him, though.
Yeah, Warren's going to be looked at as like those teams, like Broncos. They're looking for that joker player, that guy that can do a little everything. That's what Warren would be. Loveland is going to be that do-it-all fill-in spot. You got Harold Fannin coming out of Bowling Green, 6'4", 230. This guy's going to be another one. Like, look, all you need in the tight end position to be successful in fantasy is athleticism. That's exactly what you get with this guy. This dude had 1,500 yards last year. He had over 49% of the team's total yards. Unfreaking believable. Guys like Brock Bowers, that's who does stuff like that. So again, not comparing them there. That's what the skill set we're getting. But if you're talking about an athletic freak, when we look at like Chigakonkwo, trying to tag guys like him, oh hey, he could break out because he has the athletic ability. This guy would have that.
Yeah, I know you're super high on Harold Fannin. I'm not. I think I probably need to watch his tape just a little bit more to keep seeing it. But like, I think he's projected late first round too, and I'm just like, I can't see it. It's so weird to me watching him play, and he got so many yards. It's so crazy.
And the last one out of Miami, you got Arroyo. Will not be testing at the combine this weekend just because of a knee injury, but 6'4", 245, got a lot of love at the Senior Bowl, so I imagine we'll probably see a day 2 pick on this guy.
Yeah, I could see that too. I think more so like 3rd round, maybe 4th round out of him.
Mm-hmm. Folks, that is it. Putting a bow on it, wrapped up. If you want more exclusive deep dives of these players, stay tuned because the Fantasy Football Advice Network, we're dropping the rookie guide here pretty soon. We've got over 50 prospects in there, deep dives of those, just covering everything from their college play to projections and stuff like that. So check out there. If you're looking for more from us, we will be at the Combine this week. Wheels, they hit the ground in just a couple days. We'll be there hanging out, interviewing, all sorts of content. So look for us there. It's at @too_much_Brian. And then Brennan, where are they finding you?
I'm at FFAMB Milk on X, and then the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Yeah, we might be doing a podcast in person. Who knows?
Damn straight. Oh my gosh. First one ever, folks. First one ever. Stay tuned. We'll see you later.